Hello, class, and I am happy to say that I think week one largely went well. Some of you have had questions or problems loading in your MindTap so that you can have access to all of the learning activities. And please make sure to keep me in the loop with your troubles, even if you have to start, especially if you have to start a case with Cengage, our textbook company. But just to summarize, your blogs last week were really terrific. And for the most part, they did have an academic tone and were really respectful of each other, and I appreciate that so much. And I'd like you to continue that with this week's blog. And I'm just going to give you a brief overview of the week because we also have an extra module that's opened up this week for the concert reports. Not everybody's desktop will look exactly like the one you see here. This is for the 1139 sections. And 1140 students have a different color desktop, but they will also still be doing the same material these first few weeks. So this applies to everybody. Let's go ahead and take a look at learning modules. And before I open up any of them, I just wanted to point out course expectations for you, because if you're wondering about, when I talk about good netiquette, most of you have heard this phrase before and understand what it entails, but I'd like you to see that I actually have outlined down here. It's my late policy, weekly assignments, required reading, participation, and netiquette policy. So you can go over to the course expectations and check that out if you're unclear about what that means. And moving back now to learning modules, I'm going to open up week 2. We'll go back and look at concert reports after that. I won't be making a video every week like this, but as we're getting oriented to how things work, I think it's useful. So here's our summary. We'll always have a summary. And you can see and read and study that I have actually loaded a copy of the PowerPoint for Chapter 3 this week. That is because the more time you have to let material kind of sink in before our first exam, the better. And there's a lot of terms in Chapter 3 and skills, and I think if you have a chance to see the PowerPoint video this week, you will already be subconsciously starting to move that knowledge into working knowledge by the time you go over it again next week with MindTap activities. Our blog this week is called The Exploratorium. I think it's a lot of fun, and it's a chance to just really enjoy thinking about sound and experimenting a little bit on your own. So it's often a popular activity, so I hope you enjoy this blog. Your homework is 4 listening exercises this week, and so get on them. Don't let them get ahead of you. Make sure that you get them all done this week. Even though I keep the window open until the test, it's really good if you do all the activities every week and keep up with that. I'm especially available Monday and Wednesday late mornings for just about anybody that might send me a text and maybe want to have a phone call. I finished teaching a face-to-face class and am back at my office by 10:30 Albuquerque time on Mondays and Wednesdays. So if you are near West Side campus and ever would like to meet face-to-face, that's a good time to do it, although it would help if you check in advance so I make sure I'm there for you. You can see we have some active listening guides this week, and then there's another Beat the Clock quiz. Let's just take a peek at the Music Exploratorium, because I do want to point out you're going to go into this virtual museum, and I know we have a museum theme for a second week, and make sure that you look at what it says here. Explore the galleries of the Exploratorium for a minimum of 30 minutes. So you can sample all of them or 2 or 3 of them, but I would like for you to spend 30 minutes in here. The only link that really doesn't work is the online drum circle. I think this is it's a dead link, or maybe it's hooked up just for certain people, but certainly not our class. So you can see in any of these, some of them are interactive. The dot mixer is interactive. It's possible you've done an activity similar to this before, but the similar colors tend to blend more than different colors in here. And so you can bring out some different timbres and rhythms. And by clicking, you can alter them one at a time, or bring in a new color. It changed everything, didn't it? Anyway, there's an endless number of possibilities for what you can do in here. This and this are also interactive. The Headlands Experiments is, this link is a series of videos where we can see some musicians out experimenting at a park north of San Francisco, and they are really just listening to the nature of sound and making their own music just on what's available. So they've got mallets out, and this one all right, so enjoy all these galleries. Remember, the online drum circle is not going to work. Now, you will also have another activity, and this blog is very important. You're going to be making an instrument this week. And it's important to me that you actually do this. Please don't do something like say, oh, I tapped my pencil on my desk, that's my instrument. Let's go farther than that. Have some fun with it. Maybe your first experiment won't even work, but I'm interested in hearing about failures as well as successes. If you can upload a sound file of your instrument to the blog, that would be my favorite thing for you to do. Or if you don't mind blowing up my phone this week with recordings, you can leave me a sound recording at my number here. But that doesn't share the sound of your instrument with the whole class. So I would be really happy if you would go ahead and see if you can upload a sound recording to the blog. And if you don't even have that, maybe you could upload a photo of it, which would give us an idea of what the instrument's like. But I really do want you to use some rich adjectives to describe what it sounds like to us, and your reaction about what it was like to make the instrument. Is it a pitched instrument, an unpitched instrument, and so forth. So please read the directions carefully, but then I hope you have some fun with this. It's really supposed to unleash some of your creativity. So you can see we have the PowerPoint videos for Chapter 2 and Chapter 3 loaded in, and I know I said that I had an extra link in here, and that's this one. And I would be very pleased if you would listen to that this week also. It will only help you do better on your test, which is already week 4 coming up. So here's the Mind Tap content folder for Chapter 2. You can see the reading and listening guides, and then the listening exercises. They're all lined up here, and then the Beat the Clock quiz at the end. A few people were having a little bit of trouble navigating Mind Tap because it's not always obvious when you click on a link. So When I have the link open up, sometimes it's a little slow. This takes a moment. It seems like it right here. This seems like, wow, what are we doing? You really need to go up here to the blue stripe. I think I sent a message or an announcement about this, and go to Unit View. Click on Unit View, and then click on Chapter 2. And that will reveal everything you need to start working on in the correct order. So it takes a few moments for it to load, but here we go. And then I can start going through the activities. All right, just about done here. What I would like to do next is go back and click on our other learning module. This is not a weekly learning module. This one will be available the entire semester, and this is where we turn in our concert reports and we obtain the files so that we can see how we fill out the form. And so there is a requirement to attend 2 concerts this semester. The first concert, the report form is a little bit shorter than the second. And I'm going to show you first some ideas for finding concerts. So first we have this link to the University of New Mexico. Oh, it's not working. Oh, now that's a first for me. This should be a link that works, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a new window and paste it into my browser and hope it really is somehow not a broken link, because it was working a few weeks ago. Here we go. Not a lot happening here in January. There's 3 events coming up. You can see a collaborative piano graduate recital. That means that you would hear a pianist accompany several different instruments and perhaps vocalists. Collaborative piano means playing with others. Here's a trombone faculty recital. These generally cost at least a small amount of money. If you have a student ID, it's $5, which is not bad for all of these wonderful instruments. Playing a faculty jazz recital. Yes, jazz is okay for one of your concerts. It's the American classical music. And then we have a guest artist recital on saxophone. I will warn you, a lot of times they play a lot of interesting music on saxophone recitals. It's not all going to be, cool, smooth jazz type sounds. It could be very challenging to listen to in some cases, although you may really love it. Again, these cost $5 with your student ID. But most of you will probably be thinking about a concert in February. Please ignore the Suzuki Lab School concerts. My son used to play in these and they are adorable. However, these are small children, and if you're only going to go to a couple of recitals or concerts, you need to be hearing people who are further along on their path. So there is a jazz concert at Hotel Andaluz. This is usually more expensive, but it's giving the UNM students a chance to play out in a venue that's more like real life, with beverages and snacks and things. And we can see here there's a colloquium. It's a talk, so probably not going to go to a talk. That's not going to work. Here's a senior recital. Nice thing about senior recitals is they're free. So they usually don't list the program for undergraduate recitals. Often graduate recitals, they'll have something, but all they have is the time and the location. So you won't be able to do any research beforehand. This concert's been canceled. Faculty trumpet. Now here's the symphony orchestra on February 16th. I'd love to see most of you here for this, if at all possible, just because it's a great way to hear a near professional quality ensemble for $5 with your student ID again. It will last approximately from 7:30 to 9 p.m. You have a chance to hear these different instruments featured, and it does give us a little bit of the program, so you could do a little bit of research and listen to the music in advance online. There's a senior recital, a composition studio recital, and then a junior recital. And so any of these would work. as long as they're not the things for small children. So that's one link. Please don't ever ask me, where is that UNM Music Department calendar? Because you can always go find the link here. I think I gave that link out 50 times last semester, so I actually put it in the learning module this time. Finally got smart. And then here is a file that I put together with concert opportunities for the semester that are out and about town. Sometimes you have a chance to go and see something maybe closer to where you live, and you can see here we have affordable options. The New Mexico Symphony Chorus, they have a concert, I believe First United Methodist Church is downtown. They have a concert program that you can look up by copying and pasting. Sunday Chatter, any hipsters or retirees or anything in between? This is a great opportunity for you to go hear some music. It's not free. Student ID, if you are 30 and under, is $9 and $15 is regular admission. And it might seem a little bit steep, but for the price of admission, you want to get there a half hour early. These all start at 10:30 a.m. So I would say arrive by 10. It's kind of a cool venue. It's a warehouse that's actually been converted into a concert space. So it's not overly fussy. Certainly you wouldn't be expected to dress up very much for this concert. Just be neat and tidy. But if you arrive by 10 a.m., then you can get a barista to make you a coffee or a tea, and that's included with your entry. So the $9 is terrific because it's good value. Music, a beverage, usually they have cookies, and don't forget to tip your barista anyway. Here is the Philharmonic Orchestra. They have a few concerts coming up, and these tend to cost a little bit more. If you're planning on going, I advise you buying tickets in advance. If you want a student discount, sometimes they're available, but you have to go to either the Pit or the UNM bookstore in person to do this. Sometimes folks at the counter are not used to people asking for a student discount for those concerts, so you might have to ask for a supervisor to help you. Here are some free orchestra concerts. You can see a pair of them, the Albuquerque Philharmonic, which I usually play with, but since I have 4 classes this semester and a new prep, I am not going to be in this concert, but I will probably be at one of them. There is an opera coming up, and it's coming up in the later in the spring, so that's something to consider. We will be covering opera, and you'll have a chance to maybe hear a live opera then. Chamber music featuring myself and some other local musicians is available on February 26th at 2 p.m. at Congregation Albert, which is at Louisiana, just south of Montgomery. It's a free concert, so I'd love to see some of you there. So here's some ideas. There are others. You can look in the newspaper. You can go to KUNM and look up classical calendar. Or you can let me know if you're looking for something in particular. I want to hear a percussion ensemble. I'd like to hear a concert band. Whatever your question might be, please fire one off to me if you have one. Right now, you should not be able to see Concert Report 2. I don't want you to confuse it with this one, so I'm just, I have more things showing on my website. So you can see our first concert report is due March 12th at 11:59 p.m. and you need to start looking around for a concert. This is the form. You click on the form and you can see the file here. You will be able to turn it in directly to the attached assignment, and if you have trouble understanding how to make that work, you can write to me and find out. Some students this is really easy for, others it's not. It should be a PDF that you can write on, and so I'm not sure why mine's not responding right now. But you can see that I want your name, your date, your class and section. Please do not make a Word file and then upload it, because I could lose it and lose your report. I sometimes have received way too many things that don't even have people's names in the files, and it turns into a mess quickly. So you can also scan and upload things. So you could download the concert report form, and you could type on it directly or write on it with neat handwriting, then scan it and then upload it. So it says here that I want you to scan the cover and the page listing the works performed, and I would like those to be uploaded when you submit your report, even if you have to do it in several little chunks. If you don't have a program, it's -5 points. Be creative. If you get to a concert and there are no programs left, approach somebody afterwards and ask if you can have a program, especially if it's a couple that's there together. Maybe you can have one of their programs. Or just get there early, because especially UNM concerts, they tend to not print enough. So I've even had students say they ran out of programs, but I was able to photograph my neighbor's program. They allowed me to do that before or after the concert. So you're not going to take the form to the concert, although if you can look up things in advance, that would be great. You're going to put the concert information here and what genres of music were performed. Remember, classical is way too general. If you don't know what genre something is and it's confusing you, all you have to do is type in the name of the piece, the composer, and write the word genre afterwards in a search, and you will be able to find that out. So you can always ping me with a question if you're not sure what the genre is of a work. Just because an orchestra is playing something doesn't mean it's always a symphony. Were any of the works programmatic? That means, was there a poem, words to the music? Did the title of it suggest a storyline? If yes, that's programmatic. You're going to pick 2 compositions from the program and describe them for me. Don't try to describe the entire thing, especially if it's very long. You will write down the name of the composer, the title of the piece. If there are separate movements, you put them in the appropriate place. Usually it's 4 movements, sometimes there's more or less. Give me the historical era of the work. What year was it written? And then fit your answer into one of these historic eras. Then I give you some ideas. After you write, if there are any solo voices or feature instruments, you can answer all of these questions. It's best if you take maybe one movement or part of a symphony and just write about that. And a typical narrative might say something like, "The Swan began with a very graceful melody in the cello. I thought it was in the major mode. It seemed to be in duple meter, and I could tell that the cellist was using vibrato when he played it. The melody was disjunct because it skipped around. It wasn't like a scale, which is conjunct." So you can hear me sprinkling those music terms that we've been working on or will work on throughout my narrative. But I would like your narrative to be descriptive of what you hear in the concert. You may not be able to remember exactly what you heard, so go back, listen to it on YouTube, and then go ahead and answer the question. You can listen to it several times on YouTube if you need to. So you're going to pick 2 parts of the concert to write about. It might be a very long piece all by Handel, like the Messiah, which is 1 piece. If so, pick 2 contrasting sections and write about them. So here's our composer, title, and the same thing for the second work. And that will be it. Once you have finished that and answered it completely, make sure your narrative is complete and not just a few sentences, because I cannot award full marks for that. So this is just the first time I really talked about concert reports, so if you do have any questions, you may ask me. This sometimes is a little bit useful. It's kind of not my favorite thing that Craig Wright ever wrote, but you could look at that for a point of reference. And this sometimes is a good thing to bring to office time if you're not certain that your concert report is going to be complete as you've written it. You can come check in with me or call me about it. So that's it for this week. I know it was a bit of a long introduction, but we have a lot going on this week, and I want you to understand where to find your concert report assignments. Have a great week, and I can't wait to hear your musical instruments.